All right. Today's episode is Coaching, Mentorship, and Growing Talent with Michelle Rogers
Woohoo!
and I guess
Lindsey Smeezing.
me and Emily.
Yeah, but I'm the host.
Yes. Emily's the host. And
I'm not a leader, so we're not interviewing me.
stop it. You are too a leader.
Don't.
Yes.
I'm the host.
Whatever. Okay. We're going to start by Michelle just giving a little bit of background about herself.
I'm Michelle Rogers. I've been with the ESC for about 26 years. I've done pretty much everything early childhood related. I was a classroom teacher. I did itinerant. I co-taught with a gen ed teacher. I currently, about 3 years ago, took a coaching role and have worked with some school age population, with our preschool, with our low incidence classrooms. And I most recently just took the role of preschool special education supervisor for the ESC.
Okay, Lindsey, tell us about yourself.
Okay. I feel like this is really silly for me to introduce myself because, we have so many subscribers that already know
21
who I
people
am,
already know
right?
who you are.
Okay. But Emily says that everybody subscribes for her except one person, and that's
It's her.
me.
We know who you're here to watch, if we're being frank.
Yeah. So
Humility is important. I don't want her
That's
to
right.
get too big for her britches.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so Lindsey Schmeezing, I have been with the ESC for 6 years. Prior to being at the ESC, I was at Marion Local for 12 years. I taught third grade and then moved down to first grade. And I have been with the ESC now for 6 years in the curriculum role. So I was curriculum coordinator, and now I'm in the director role.
The boss. She
I
hates
love
when
it.
I say
I
that.
don't like that. No, I don't like that.
But she is my boss, and I like to remind her of that. Right. So this segment, we're going to be doing with Michelle and Lindsey. And it's called This or That. At my house, we have a really fun game that we play at dinner all the time. Would you rather? I'm sure you've played it. And it really does help you get to know people and what they value and what, you know what I mean? So we're going to play that with Michelle and Lindsey. But we're going to play This or That, because if I sit here and make up would you rather scenarios, they're probably not going to be appropriate. So we're going to stick with the script. So our first This or That for Lindsey and Michelle, simple. We're going to start simple. Chocolate or vanilla? No explanation. Just go with the gut.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Okay. Our next This or That, would you prefer audiobook or an actual physical book?
Physical book.
Audio.
Okay. For our next This or That, would you like to be the driver or the passenger?
Ooh.
Probably the driver if I know how to get where I'm going.
Okay.
You're not supposed to explain.
Yeah, yeah, this is across the board.
Okay.
Driver.
I'm going to go
Okay.
with driver.
Okay. As long as not a roundabout. For the next This or That,
Right.
Lindsey once spent 14 minutes in the same roundabout.
Not 14.
Okay, you're right, 11. For the next This or That, cooking or baking?
Cooking.
Oh, wow, that was emphatic. Okay. For the last This or That, mountains or the beach?
Beach.
Beach. Okay, you're both beach. So for the first question, and we'll start with Michelle, and then we'll let Lindsey piggyback on whatever Michelle says. How do you approach coaching others without, quote unquote, fixing them?
I think that coaching as a whole is more of a support person, a supportive role. I think there's lots of barriers to that because I think initially as a coach, when I started, I thought my role was to come in and fix because everyone's drowning. And then you see that and you want to just help. And so initially my instinct was to help by fixing, but you overpromise and overextend. And then your actual role as a coach is kind of cut at the knees because that relationship with that staff, you're not trustworthy. You weren't dependable because you couldn't fulfill what you thought, what you told them. I also think, this is just my experience, in schools and in our programs, when staff hears, hey, we're going to give you a person, you're going to have this coach, they're going to support you, they're going to be with you, they're going to help you. They also kind of view you as a fixer because they think you're going to come in and you're going to take this problem and you're going to make it better because they don't have the time. They've tried everything they have to throw at it. And even when that coach comes in and is doing everything right, meeting that staff member where they are, kind of like respecting and valuing where they're coming from, listening, helping, providing resources. At the end of the day, that staff member, their cup is full. That's why you're there in the first place. And they're in a pretty vulnerable state emotionally and physically. And when you come in as the coach, you run the risk of coming off kind of feeling as if your support is scrutiny or criticism when that's really not what you're trying to do. So I do think just trying to find a way to build the relationship with a staff member and be supportive versus to say, I'm here to fix it.
Yeah.
So Lindsey, before you answer that question, actually, I'll give a follow-up question to see, and if you haven't experienced this, then maybe, because I don't want to throw an unplanned question at you. But so when you get into situations where the person that you're working with, because Lindsey and I are in this situation a lot as well, where you're called in to work with somebody, how do you navigate that atmosphere when the person expects you to fix it? How do you navigate that environment without, like, because if their expectation of the outcome is different than what was intended, how do you navigate that without disappointing them or losing their trust or any of the following negative things that could happen?
You asking me?
Whoever wants to answer. I didn't want to throw you off with an unscripted question.
I just think there's lots of layers to a coaching role. I think that from an administrator's point of view, what is that person's job and what are the expectations and what are they here for that everyone knows so that you can kind of start establishing from the beginning, like this isn't a one and done. She can't just come in here and fix these problems. She's here to essentially like coach you and build capacity, help be with you along the way, build the capacity within you so that the next time this problem happens or this behavior happens, you are enabled and confident in yourself. Like you have mastered this and you can do it again. And honestly, it helps build leadership because then the greatest thing in the world is to see the person that you worked with and that you were coaching kind of share that knowledge with the next person. And the coach kind of can step back because you're building leadership qualities and peer mentoring, just like we want to do with our students in our classroom, but you're doing that at a level with the teachers, and kids win and teachers win.
Right. The goal is essentially to work ourselves out of a job, right?
Correct.
Right. Well, and I was going to say, I think it's a little bit different because I'm not coaching per se. I think the other thing is, I think everybody's a leader in some way, shape, or form, right? But I think that sometimes they don't see that in themselves. So if you can find their red threads to help them, then I think
I hit the mic
microphone.
cord. Sorry, everyone.
I think that's like one of the best things is exactly what you said. If you can find their red threads and help them see that in themselves, and then that's how we build capacity and that's how we build leadership.
I think that's not to go off on tangents because I was going to talk about that later, but helping people see in themselves what they don't see is actually one of the hardest things that I've found to be with coaching because I see it. And sometimes it can come off insincere when you're trying to build another person up and say, oh my goodness, like, I love how you did this. Depending on that person's learning style and how they take in things, that can actually set someone off by building them up. So,
well, and I think that's why the relationships are so important because then you know how to support that person, like what motivates them, how do they handle, tough situations or when you have to have, crucial conversations or whatever. I think it's really getting to know that person to know how to approach them and to build them up. So
that's what I was going to say. It sounds like the front end work is really important, like how the concept is introduced, how you get to know somebody like that. You can't redo the beginning part of your relationship with somebody. And I think that,
quick.
I think that's hard.
And I do
that
think,
trust piece.
Yes. And I think that there's lots of barriers to that because typically a coach I'm not just with Emily. I'm not going to Emily's room and I'm with Emily all the time. I mean, some of the best relationships I've had with teachers and the best outcomes I've had with teachers are with teachers that know me and have worked with me as I was coming up in my career, because they trust me. But if I'm with 12 different staff members in various buildings, it doesn't lend itself to the time that it actually takes to truly establish that trust, that safety. It's not evaluative. And I think oftentimes a coach's role comes across as an evaluator. And just because of the nature of I'm popping in and out. And so that kind of helped. It's hard to build trust in a coaching capacity if you're all over the place.
That makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah.
You want to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I think this is a good one to go with next. Sorry, I was looking at the rest to see if we could segue. What's a small shift that helped someone grow in a big way in the work that you have done?
I think probably in the work I've done, one of the most powerful shifts I've seen is the teachers that are choosing to, instead of react to a behavior, respond with intention to a behavior. Looking at behavior more as the communication. What is that child trying to communicate to me? Um, there's all kinds of things that come into play with that. But I've had a teacher who struggled with transitions. The child was screaming when I got in there. Really, the pattern of behavior was already established. So she just thought it seemed chaotic and it happened all the time. And again, her cup is full and she's in the thick of it. So
Mm.
part of our role as a coach is to come in and give a point of view that is objective, where they can almost look at a problem. I kind of describe it more of like a science, like a scientific method.
Hmm.
So instead of looking at this as it's happening all the time, let's figure out, like, let's fine tune what the behavior is. Let's fine tune when it's happening. And let's figure out, is it something they're trying to avoid or something they're trying to achieve? Is it a basic need they need to meet? I think when you start to do that, teachers feel so enabled. Like, it's not crazy anymore. It's, there's a process, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And someone's in this with me trying to help me figure it out. And it may work and it may not work, but I'm not doing this by myself.
Yeah, it almost puts the teacher back in control of a
Yes.
situation that felt out of control. And that's
Precisely.
probably very triggering for the teacher. So then we are escalated, so we can't think clearly. Interesting. All right, Lindsay, what about you?
So I've just been thinking about like even this role and how much it's changed like over the past several years. The curriculum department was one person and then it's shifted and now we have multiple people. So like again, we're not in classrooms, but we're working with the classroom teachers. And I think one of the biggest things that we have done,
That was
No,
Lindsay.
Ooh, that was
That
me.
was Lindsay, not
That was
Emily.
me. Okay. I think one of the biggest things that we have done is we've tried to help build leaders with the teachers that we're working with. So when I think of us doing like the data sessions or any kind of PD, like we're there to help lead that professional development, but they're leaving with the tools to be able to support each other when they go back to their classrooms. So I think that's been one of like the small shifts that we've done is we helped um, build leaders with our teachers.
Yeah. No, I
Is there something
agree.
you want to add?
No, I think I've just been thinking of the role of a coach like metaphorically and what a coach is. Like if you think about a coach in the conventional way we do, we think about that with sports, right? And so a coach can write the best game plan. But if the people enacting the game plan aren't following the game plan, then it's not going to work. And a lot of times the coach takes the heat for that. But there is also something on the other end, and we talk about this a lot in our roles. And I'm sure it can get frustrating in a coaching role as well because you don't always stay there, right? So like you can come in with this wealth of knowledge or this, not that any of us have a wealth of knowledge, but we try. You can
Yeah.
come in with these ideas, but until the game plan gets enacted, and sometimes you're not. The difference between an educational coach, the roles we do, and an actual coach is an actual coach is there at game time and can make game time decisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where sometimes we walk away and we're not there at game time, and so we don't see what was actually enacted and what was done. So
I
yeah.
think too, as a coach in our roles, like, we only see what we see when we're there.
Yeah.
And so we're giving insight or strategies or interventions or ideas. And then when you walk away, you're trusting that that
Yes.
view is
Mm-hmm.
the view. And so when it doesn't work, it can be kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I almost wish there was another name for a coach that works in that isn't there at game time. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'll think about that. I'll ask ChatGPT. Okay.
I would say that they're a mentor too, because
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that that's the other part of it. Like, yes, you're a coach, but you're also a mentor. And you said that before. I feel like sometimes when we get the emails, or it's because there's a problem and it just needs to be fixed. But if we can give them the tools and resources up front and they see themselves actually using those tools and resources before they go back to the classroom, then they're going to use it and it's more of like preventative. Like they already have the tools to be able to
Isn't that like an SEL thing where you have
It
to
is.
practice things when you're
Right.
not
Yeah,
elevated so
you
that you can actually
practice
do
what you
them?
need before you need it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, and
yes.
we went to that conference the other week. Was it the Ohio Literacy Academy one?
Mm.
And I went to a session, and that's what it talked about. Like people will actually learn and take away things if they can practice it within a
Like a
professional
controlled,
development, like
uh-huh.
because it's safe. It's they can see an example of it, they can do it, then they will go back to their classroom and actually use it.
That makes sense.
There's research behind professional developments that when a staff person just goes to a PD, there's a percentage of people that are going to take away and run with it. But there's
Mhm.
a much larger, and I won't put the numbers out there, percentage of people that think it was a great idea, but come back and just fail to put it to use. And that when you add a coach to that, and not someone to monitor it, but just someone to kind of facilitate and foster that growth, those practices really take off. So there is an element of coaching to
Yeah.
professional
So you're
development.
almost like a coach slash cheerleader slash mentor slash
Yeah.
all of the above.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is everybody's favorite topic, feedback.
Yes.
What role does feedback play in developing talent?
Um, I think that feedback is less about performance and more about untapped potential.
Ooh, I
Okay.
like that.
Can you unpack that a little
Yes,
bit?
kind of, because I think when you give feedback in a relationship, a trusting, safe, honest, and respectful manner, you allow that peer to tap into their growth mindset. They're a lot, they feel safer in trying new things. And I think ultimately it's great for kids and it's great for staff. And they feel like we're gonna fail. I say this all the
Mhm.
time. I'm gonna fail at all kinds of things. But if you fail, and in every failure there's a lesson that you take
Mm-hmm.
and move with that
Mhm.
forward. So yeah, I think it's hard for people to take feedback. I think you have to be in the right frame of mind and place in your life. I mean, sometimes you can work with people and no matter what, they're just not ready yet. They're just not ready. I haven't done my part. I would say as a
Uh-huh.
teacher to a student, it falls back on me. So, um, but you just hope that they get to that point.
Well, I think it's really, I like that you said that because on the other end of that, I think it's really hard for some people to give feedback because it can feel cruel or unkind, even constructive feedback. I don't know if you can feel the vibes, but I'm speaking as myself. Um, but when you frame it from that mindset, it's almost like I want to give Lindsay feedback because I care about her and I want her to be her best
Mhm.
self. And it's less I'm giving feedback to tear Lindsay down. And so if you spin it with that mindset, you're more likely to set your colleague or peer up for success by giving them feedback than you are by keeping those thoughts that you think might be cruel to yourself. Um, because you want them to grow.
Honest is kind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Honest is kind.
Well, and I think when you trust one another, then the feedback, it doesn't feel like it's, somebody cutting you down or because and I'm going back to your assignment that you had the other week when you
Mhm.
text me and said, "Hey, I have this assignment." And I was like, "I don't like this assignment." But then I did it and I was like, "But I'll do this for you, but you have to do it for me."
Yeah, my assignment was, what's it like to be on the other side of me? I had to ask a colleague, a friend, and a family member. So I actually I my friend circle and my coworker circle, they overlap as a Venn diagram. I don't have a lot of friends outside of my coworker circle. So Lindsay served as my friend and Beth served as my coworker. But yeah, you had to just have them just unload about what it's like to be on the other side of you. So I did the same thing for Lindsay and Beth. And actually
Look at her face.
I even
She's
I
like, "Oh my
actually, I
gosh."
mean, as hard as I think that is, or I don't know, maybe it was wonderful for you and experience, but I actually like that
No,
idea.
and actually it wasn't, I mean, obviously it wasn't hard to ask. Because he said you can send text, emails, phone calls, whatever you need to do. Um, it wasn't that hard to ask. And honestly, all the feedback made sense. Like all of it was like, or those parts of my personality that maybe I thought didn't come out in these settings. Some of the feedback I got, I'm like, oh, that does. And it's maybe not necessarily a negative thing, but it's
Right.
just like something to be
Mhm.
cognizant of. Like I need to pay attention to that because maybe that's not appropriate for this setting, or you know what I mean? And it was all,
Mhm.
but it was through the framework of I had control because I asked the question.
Right.
Had those people come, like had my husband come to me and said, sometimes you're a little sensitive about things,
I agree.
just on a random day doing dishes, I would have been like, excuse me, and then proved his point, right?
Well, and that's why I think like when we think of like OTES and things like that, I think when it's used from like that growth mindset, you're giving that feedback and you're having those conversations. So it's not just out of nowhere that all
Uh-huh.
of a sudden you're told this, and this are things that you can work on. But I also think when you give feedback, you also have to give support on how you're going to help them
Agreed.
grow. Because otherwise you can say, you need to get better at this, and this. Well, I can say that, but then I walk away and I don't have any support. I don't know where to even start. So
Mhm.
I think sometimes that, I think of like the PGPs. I think when they're used in the right way, they can be really powerful
What's a
for people.
PGP for people who don't
Sorry.
know?
Yes. Thank you. Your professional growth plan. Sorry.
I'm
Yes,
taking all the
thanks.
acronyms out of my dissertation right now, or at least like
Yeah,
explaining
that's
them. So it's on the
yes.
forefront of my
Uh-huh.
brain, as
Yes.
some people
Yeah,
don't know
no.
your lingo.
No, I'm glad that you asked.
I
Yep.
think that's a good point though, Lindsay, because if they knew what it was and they had the resources to do it, they probably would be doing it.
Right.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
It wouldn't be feedback they're being given because most
Mhm.
likely they're already doing it.
Well, and that's why I think like sometimes when teachers are put on improvement plans, like they look at it as, oh my gosh, I'm on an improvement plan. This is awful. No, sometimes it's because your admin doesn't know how to support, but they're going to find the resources for you or the people that are going to support you to actually help you make the growth. Because let's think about what a principal does all in a day. They don't have the time always to sit down and work one on one with some teachers. So that's when we can come in and actually provide that support. But really, I think of it like if they're following that plan, it's really that tool or support to help them grow, you
Yep.
know?
And if you juxtapose it with what Michelle said, it's because they care about you, right?
Right.
Like they're trying to give
100%.
you the tools that you need to be successful.
Yeah.
I think feedback too. I mean, I personally, not from my husband, which is interesting because
Yeah.
you said that. I hate, he'll probably watch this someday. When he says
We're going to send it straight to
Yeah,
him,
we're
Michelle.
gonna send it to him, Michelle.
when he tells me something like what you just said your husband would say. But if someone said that to me at work, I would I value just say it. I don't
Uh-huh.
need it to
Mhm.
be cushioned between something good and something good.
Well,
Oh,
they
the
say
compliment
don't do
sandwich.
that.
I know,
Fran
right?
said
do
no.
the nope,
Yep.
you're not
Because they
supposed
don't
to do
hear the
that.
bad thing.
I know a friend of
And
mine
it's so
works
true.
in HR at a big company, and she said that is what they
Uh-huh.
teach in their training, that you shouldn't see how much
Yeah.
good like feedback and then good. But I function better. Just tell me. It will
Yeah.
hurt, and I will probably walk away initially and be like, what do you mean I don't? Blah blah blah. But
Mhm.
I'm far more reflective of it as I walk away and conscious of it. And after I've sat on it for a day or two, I really do take it to heart and try to change. I do. I want to know.
So
Yeah.
the little asterisk to this episode is this is advice for the work setting, and maybe spouses don't follow this
Correct.
advice because we don't like feedback. That
So
was
we
me.
can only record for like 25 minutes, and I think
Okay, where
we're
are we at?
almost there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just so you know, I
Okay.
don't know that we're gonna have time for that last question.
Okay, then we won't do the last question. What do we do though? This is weird. We can't just abruptly
Yeah, no, I know. Let me
see where we're at.
let me just see where we're at. Okay, it looks like 20 minutes. Is that what that says?
I don't know.
Here, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, just be
Let
done.
me
We're back.
We're back. So we just had a very long discussion between these little segments because now you can, you didn't know this, but with Canva, you can only record for like 25 minutes max.
So we can't go on long
So we
ramblings
can't go
anymore.
on long ramblings, which I'm sure you're pretty excited about. But during this, so before we even recorded, Michelle came in and she was like sweating bullets. She was super nervous about this. And honestly, I think, well, you're going to meet everybody on our leadership team. So everyone has like their own little segment that we're going to do. But Michelle, let's just talk about your experience.
Doing this podcast.
Yes. Tell them why you were so nervous.
I kind of, it's sort of an imposter syndrome kind of thing going on. In the actual leadership role, even though I feel like in my other roles, I kind of was sort of a leader, but it was just peer to peer. I don't actually feel as if I am fully in my leadership role to be sitting here. I don't feel like an expert on anything, and I hate to talk as if I'm an expert on anything. So I was super nervous, didn't want to do it.
And then we stopped recording and we
Growth
started
mindset.
having a conversation.
Yes.
And Michelle, what did you tell us?
I said this wasn't too bad. It was actually enjoyable. And I do think that shows how leaders can be influential on other people, because you
Okay.
two
Okay.
have been wonderful influences. I have been super blessed at the ESC in general to have people see potential in me
Mhm.
that I
Agree with
didn't
that.
know I had. They didn't
I
actually
agree.
come out and say it, but people just have a funny way of like
They hold doors open for you.
Yep.
hold a door open.
There's a lot of women here
Yes.
that hold doors open for other
Yes.
people.
Mhm.
And I think that I've been blessed that way. And you two are two of those people. So you just did it for me again.
Aw.
Well, that was
today.
really nice because I was just going to
Thanks.
compare us to dentists who give you root canals. And you're like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. You dread it all day and you're like, But you said it much better. We're great.
I've been dreading this for 4 days.
She had a long holiday weekend to think about
Yes.
this. Couldn't even
Yes.
celebrate America because she was
I
so
know.
nervous.
She was so nervous
That's
about
why I have
it.
no nails.
Today's July 7th. You may be seeing this like 2 months later.
I was going to
but
say, yeah.
that's
we'll
the
just
holiday we
roll
were
out for a
talking
while,
about.
But yeah.
It's hot right now, so we're sweating too. But
Well, and I
this
think
may
the
go out.
other reason that we're doing this too is because we do a lot of recording of podcasts. And I think back to the first time that I told Emily we're going to do this podcast, and literally she sat next to me. She hated every second of it. But I also think like after we've done it, it now has become comfortable. I think there's a lot of other series that people at our ESC would do if they knew how to do it or if they experienced it and they were
Agreed.
like, you know what, it's not that bad. I could get some guests on. So I'm hopeful that after people do this, they can use our template and then they'll be able to record and they'll have the tools and resources to do it.
I do like the idea.
That's like a 180. That's good.
It
Okay.
is. I do. I
But
like
now
it.
I've been sitting on this freaking phenomenal joke for
Oh,
like
here we go.
25 minutes now. This joke.
And I always have to answer the joke, so I'm letting
I
Michelle
have to
answer
Okay.
answer the joke.
Okay.
Yes, you
now
have to
if
answer.
you really think about this, you can probably figure this joke out.
She always tells me that.
I'm not good at jokes.
It's aligned with advanced word study. Okay. It goes with some of the themes we've had here. Okay. It's also one that I find hilarious. So I need you to try to think like me for a minute. Okay.
Okay.
And also keep like word study in your mind. Okay.
What's word study?
Just it'll make sense in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl in the bathroom? Okay. Think about it.
I am.
Why can't you hear a pterodactyl in the bathroom? Because the P is silent.